Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this LinkedIn Live. Today we have the topic that got lots of attention, getting the top jobs. And I'm here with Isabella Pinucci, and I will ask her to introduce herself in a moment. But first of all, we want to know a bit more about our audience. So, how about telling us? How about telling us what kind of emotions do you feel when you think about the topic of this LinkedIn Life? How does this topic makes you feel? Or you can tell us from where you are connecting, Let us know. I'm sure that this getting the top jobs may be interesting and relevant for people across the world. So how about getting an idea about where are you right now and so that we can see the global presence that this LinkedIn Life is getting us. So either you tell us about your emotions, your feelings, or you can tell us about where you're located, and let's get the audience to share with us something. Okay, so here we are. We start with my friend Ali from Istanbul. Hello, Ali. Good to see you. Then, we have the regards also from Jitin and joining us from London. Amazing. And yes, somebody liked the countdown that we have at the beginning, like in the big events. Yes, we want to make it official. And here we are. We have somebody who feels inspired as a result of the topic and joining us from Barcelona. And then we have Luisa from Rome.
Hi,
Yes.
Luisa.
Hi, Luisa. Perfect. And then we have Veronica, startup founder from Lausanne. And then we have Marco. And Marco actually is the guest of our next LinkedIn Live. So, the CEO of CHS Europe, we will talk with him next week. And then we have Pascal from Hello, Pascal. Bonjour, Pascal. Good to reconnect. And then we have Heat from the Netherlands. We have motivated Ellison from Switzerland. We have Paul Emerick from Paris and Alessio from Milan and Mariangela, Mary from Rome. And then we have Veronique from Switzerland, La Chaux de Fonds. And then, Dully, Switzerland, and Samuel from Switzerland. Bonjour, Samuel. And here we are. And then encore Caroline from Barcelona, Vaclav from Basel. Uh, Fantastic. We have a nice group of people that are joining us. So, as let's get started with today. By the way, we want to know a bit more about who is with us today. So, Isabella, can you tell us a few words about yourself so that we can help our audience to understand more about your background?
Of course, and I'm very glad to be here, by the way. And hi to everybody who is connecting from various cities of Europe. So I am Isabella Pinucci, and I've always worked in the field of talent development and talent management. At first in an international HR consulting firm, but in the past few years, in the past 10 years actually, I've been working at the business school of the Bocconi University, which is one of the highest ranked school in Europe and in the world. And in these past years, I have directed the Career Center for the MBAs and all the international masters. And in the more recent years, in the last couple of years, I have created a special executive career development program for people who are more advanced in their career, want to make sense of their development and want to improve their career chances. And with a colleague, we wrote a book which is called Strategia di Carriera, Career Strategy. And then if we are no longer employed by Bocconi, we still, since a couple weeks actually, because I I've retired now, but we are still running our program as independent professionals. So our combined knowledge of my colleague and I covers really various stages of people's career. And by the way, in Bocconi is where I met Giuseppe, who was giving the negotiation workshop, which I believe he is still running, and it has always been very successful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Isabella, for this introduction and to highlighting to us your experience. As most of you know, because I am indeed teaching negotiation and influencing. That's my area of expertise. And in fact, we even prepared something for you. We prepared a negotiation pack. We prepared the negotiation pack, a free negotiation pack that you can find in the chat. So if you're interested to get some templates on how to prepare a negotiation, we also have an article that I published on the Financial Times about how women can ask for a raise, but it's applicable also to men. So, if you want to get some more on negotiation, then, check the chat and you may get some opportunities there. But let's now focus on Isabella. And, you mentioned your book, right, Isabella? In your recent book about career strategy, you analyzed the career path of top executives. Are there recurrent elements in the C-level careers?
Yes, actually, we conducted the research. So I think that the good thing of working in an environment is that you can do research. So you can add to your expertise some data that you find while doing studies and analysis. I have to say that our research is applicable mainly in Western Europe because that's the environment that we analyzed. But I see that most of our participants are from this corner of the world, so which is very good. It may not apply to Asia, for example, or the US, where the job market is really quite different. Anyway, the elements of our CEOs today. Well, first of all, the identikit, they are 48 years old, male, white. They all have a degree, or the majority of them have a degree either in business or engineering. So we find very few people with other kind of university degrees. They always went to a good school in terms of university. So Ivy League school as applies to Europe. So the best university, the most well-known. Their career has been mainly within the same industry or within industries which are very similar. So no jumps of industry or sectors. And we have quite a few people who are around in consulting. So either strategic consulting or the Big Four. They had a regular career, a stable career. So it means that they didn't spend, on average, less than 5 years in one single role. So they changed at the max every 5 years. So no job hops in the CEOs of today. But we have to say that this is today photograph. So we don't know what will happen tomorrow because right now we have new generation of people who are accessing, the management jobs, and they have different behaviors, the so-called millennials, for example. And we can expect in the future that the millennials will be more job hoppers than now. CEOs become CEOs coming from being executive commercial director or CFOs or operation director, these three roles. So if you want to be a CEO, you have to pursue a career in these three fields right now. And most of them, more than 6% actually, have an international experience in their portfolio. So they have been responsible for operations or markets, not only in their domestic country, but also abroad. So this is more or less the identikit of Western European CEOs and C-levels.
Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. There are a few things so interesting that they didn't change company so much because often people think about changing job is a way to increase compensation, etc. While you say that they didn't change much, the school that you study is so important
It's very
in
important.
Western Europe, right? And but what else can we learn from those who made it to the top? What are they doing better or what competency they have?
Well, what we see is that the people who made it, they normally have a strategic approach to their careers. So it's like every move is calculated or is analyzed in the light of a long-term goal. So it's not like changing jobs on the spur of the moment or changing jobs for too many emotional reasons, but I change a job because I have a career strategy that will lead me to a goal that I want to pursue. So this is one thing, the strategic approach. The second thing is, I think, how can I say, a generalist approach. So even when they are specialists of something, they tend to have a generalist approach, either with because they did an MBA, for example, or because they try not to get stuck in their specialty, but learn competencies that can help them be more effective with other executives. So they kind of learn the language of general management in addition to the language of their specific job. And the idea also is to build a reputation. So they are very, very good at building their reputation, which means, again, maybe emotional intelligence, but certainly social intelligence. So they understand the context, they understand what kind of relationships they have to form, and they are very good at increasing their visibility inside their company as well as outside. So, and this takes time and effort, but it's absolutely very, very important. I don't know if it happened the same to you, Giuseppe.
Yeah, brilliant. I love what's came up to your research, and the people that have done my influence with integrity workshop may resonate some of those ideas. And I know performance, image, and exposure are some of the
Yes.
topics that I talk because too often, especially when we come from a technical background, then we think that performance is the only thing that is going to get us to the top, and that's unfortunately not enough in order to be able to move forward in the organization. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to, I'm sorry, we have to imagine that if someone will hire us, they will hire us because they know that we are able to solve their problems, and we have to communicate. We have to make other people know that we are good at solving those problems.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, for all the people in the audience that are hearing us, but they may be, a technical specialist or whatever, of course, you may have your competence, but remember that this is the foundation, the basis, to get us there. But then, in order to really move to the top, then you need a broader set of skills.
Yes.
And how long does it take, from graduation to a top job? Maybe not only CEO, but a C-level job. And are there shortcuts or accelerator, let's say, because that's probably some of the tips that our audience wants to know. How can they get there?
Yes. Well, the average time is right now is 20 years, which is a lot. And I'm talking about large size companies, not small companies, because in the small companies everything is quicker, everything is faster. But then again, if you are playing in the small company world, it's very difficult to get out of it. So you stay in the small company world, quicker but smaller. So in larger sizes companies, right now it's around 20 years. The accelerator that we have seen in our research are experience in consulting, I mentioned before, strategic or big four. And it certainly shaves off at least 2 years in your career path. I think that's because you acquire a more generalistic approach when you work in consulting, because you are used to working with different clients, with different companies on different subjects, and also you get more exposure. So that's why probably being a consultant, it accelerates your career. Also, I've seen that, and I can say this now with integrity, you have to do an MBA. So I'm not paid for saying that because I no longer work in a business school. But the MBA also shaves off a couple of years. So is an accelerator.
Okay. And you also mentioned that most of the CEO had also an international experience.
Yes.
Would you say that that's also something that is essential to get a top job?
It's not an accelerator, so it doesn't shorten your delivery time, but it's almost mandatory, because today no company, even smaller company, are only domestic. So most of them have clients or partners in other parts of the world. And so it's very important to get acquainted with other markets, other cultures, other ways to do business, and not only your domestic environment.
Amazing. By the way, you see that there is something showing there which says, ask your question, put your comments, right? This is your LinkedIn life. I can talk with Isabella, but probably you have your own question and your own ideas. So don't hesitate, to ask any question that may be relevant. Maybe you are at the point of considering whether you want to make a change of function, a change of industry or whatever, and you're in doubt whether you should do an executive MBA or any other kind of things. So do not hesitate to ask a question. We are there for you. And by the way, in the meantime, let me take this opportunity as I'm talking to tell you about some of our forthcoming events. Because next week we have an event which focus about commodity trading in a stable environment, with the CEO of CHS Europe, Marco Rioli. And it's a great opportunity to understand, in the current context with raw materials prices exploding, supply chain shortages, etc. How can commodity trading happen, and what can we learn from this that can beneficial also to other events. And you can sign up for free through the link that you have in the chat. Then, still in February, we have another LinkedIn Live, and the next one is more on the interpersonal side. Is focus about dealing with difficult internal stakeholder, business partner, different internal stakeholders or external stakeholders. So here we are more into the field of influencing interpersonal social skills, that Isabella has indicated as one of the competency which are important to make it to the top. So 18th of February, that will be the opportunity again to join a top communication coach, Amy Carroll, on dealing with difficult business partner. One last thing, and then we go back to Isabella. And the next one is a webinar, Virtual Negotiation Toolbox, 4th of February at 2 o'clock. If you want to sharpen your skills in negotiating virtually, then I'm running this 1 hour webinar, 4th of February from 2 to 3 p.m. Central European Time. So you will find the links to this event in a moment, but let's move to the question from the audience so that we can have a follow-up on what we learned from Isabella's research so far. What is an international experience? Just working internationally or materially living abroad?
Very good question. So we analyzed both cases, and I would say that both classify as international experience. But what I see is that, of course, not considering the pandemic right now, but I see that even people who are based in a place and are working with different markets tend to travel a lot. The best is when you have transferred to another place, and if you have lived and worked in another place for at least a couple of years. So I think that these are two different degrees of international experience. Working internationally is fine, but materially living abroad adds more to your credibility, let's say.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Let's take the question from Heath from the Netherlands. Isabella, are you seeing any freelance role as a transition tools, or do you suggest the more conventional job change route within a global business?
I see from your photo that you are very young, Heath. So it depends on what stage of your career you're in. So if you are still in the early stages of your career, you can have a freelance role or even mid-career as a transition, because it happens sometimes. Your company shuts down or you are made redundant, so no problem about that, and to freelance. It's not typical for the top job career, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. Only it should be very high qualifying job, so you should be freelancing at a high level, and not for too long, so a couple of years at the most. So it doesn't harm you, but it doesn't help so much unless it's a really you have really outstanding clients, or the type of clients that you would want to work with.
Thank you, Isabella. Isabella, I know that you also, have a personal interest and a personal passion about the topic of gender.
Yes.
And you're also in the board of Road to 50, 50%, that's an association that promotes gender equality. And
Right.
women at the top are still very few. I mean, in which type of companies and roles can we find them more often?
Well, women are at the top are as few as not more than the 10%, and even at the CEO level, even less. It's 7%. Where do we find them? We find them in companies who have a more advanced culture. Typically are the tech companies right now, from my experience. And these are the companies that ask themselves smarter questions about women. Let me explain. Normally, in the majority of companies, when a recruiter sees or a manager sees a talented woman, they automatically think she's very good, she's very talented, but down the line she's gonna bring me some problems, because she will want to start a family, she will want to dedicate time to children, and so this woman will be a problem. And this is the traditional way of thinking, which brings you nowhere, and brings women and gives women a lot of obstacles, actually. But the other way to think about it, which the tech companies seem to do very well, is we have a lot of women, a lot of talented women. What can we do to help them and to tap into this potential? So the idea is, I am a company that wants to tap into this talent. What can I do to help? So this is the right question that has to be posed to women, and as a result, we see them in high tech companies. So we have quite a few in Italy as well. For example, the CEO of Amazon Italy is a woman, Mariangela Marseglia, and is a young woman. Actually, I think she is barely over 40. But still, we have a lot of still old style culture in Western Europe. So that's why it doesn't work so well. And in the C-level jobs, we find them in the HR function traditionally, and also in the commercial function, but not in function like operations or CIO, for example.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, um, your comment about the women in HR as opposed to in line jobs, makes me think about that the people that get to the top usually had a line responsibility rather than a functional role. So, right, I think it's one of the findings in your book as well that
Yes,
the people that get to the top. They have been, the general manager of a region. They have, had the P&L responsibility for a country. It's unlikely that they were just, the head of HR or the head of IT, and then they became the CEO, right?
correct. Yes, absolutely. So it's very, with the exception of the CFO, which can become a CEO. Normally, the staff jobs are not conducive, and not certainly not HR, with some noted exceptions, but that I know, but just one or two, not more.
Yeah, but so just to then I know that there are plenty of questions coming up, so we'll take them in a moment. But to conclude on the topic of women, because I see also in the audience there are a few women joining us. What should women pay particular attention if they want to advance their careers?
Well, I would say that this is a good time for women to advance in general, because it's a good, again, pandemic aside, because pandemic, it was really disruptive for many women as well. It's a good time because a lot of companies are striving for more diversity at the top. So the shareholders are telling these companies, you have to have more women at the top. And so but they don't know how to do it. And they say there are no candidates, but there are candidates. The problem is that, as we said before, more often than not, women are not, do not put themselves out there, do not work enough towards their visibility. So we said before that a strategic approach to the career and the building your reputation is very important. So this is that women should do more. Build their reputation if they want to make it to the top, because not everyone, has the aspiration to do it. But for the ladies that really want to make it, they really have to have a strategic approach and to go out there, to build your reputation and build your relationship. So you have to become a name that people think of when they are thinking of a candidate to the C level. And too often women think that the promotion is the reward for hard work. It's not like that. I mean, it's not enough. Of course, you have to work hard, but nothing magic will be happening because you are working hard. So you have to do all these other things as well. So, and also when you make it to the top, encourage other women and promote other women, of course, if they merit it. So this is the fundamental thing that they have to do.
Yes, interesting. Let me add also a perspective about self-confidence, right? Being confident that indeed, you can do it. And I want to share a story that the CEO of Merck, before I became a professor, I was working in a corporate environment for 25 years. My last job was at Merck. And the CEO of Merck, a woman, shared this story. And she says that whenever I appoint a man to a senior job, well, he says, well, thank you very much, I'm looking forward, etc., etc. And she tell me, too often, when I appoint a woman to a top job, then she says, well, thank you very much, but will I be able to do it? It's not too much, whatever. So there is this element of, let's face it, yes, women can do the job as well as men, if not better, and it's just a matter of feeling confident that you can do it. And of course, whenever we take a new job, we don't know everything. There is always something new that you have to discover, but that's normal for everyone.
It's true, but as you said, and it's tallies perfect with our research, even when they apply to a job, women are more, let's say, shy because they see the job description. If a man says, okay, this is a job description, I fit 70%, fantastic, I will apply, I will be a success. But when a woman says the job description and sees that she fits 70%, she says, no, 70% is too low, I will never apply. So it starts at the application. They don't even apply for the top jobs because they think they're not competent enough. And if I can suggest a fantastic book to all the ladies, which is quite a well-known book. It's from Sheryl Sandberg, which is the chief operating officer of ex-Facebook, now Meta. And it's called Lean In. She wrote it a few years ago, but she did a fantastic analysis. And they say, and she said, don't leave before you leave, because she said women leave before they leave, because they put themselves out of the competition because they are too afraid not to make it. But even if you fail, you just try again. I mean, it's not a big deal. So it's a mindset that has to be changed somehow.
Perfect. I put the title of the book from Sheryl Sandberg in the chat. And if you want to have the whole story about this applying or not applying for jobs, then the article is on the McKinsey Quarterly in 2008. So a very interesting research. And let me relate it to a real life story, because if you are hiring people, this may be relevant for you. Let's try now to think also for the male in the room. How can you avoid, recognizing that women will only apply if they have all or almost all of the characteristics? Be careful with making job ads which sounds like this. In one of my previous employer, I've seen this job ad. We were hiring a change manager, not a director, not a vice president, a manager level. And the job ad said, we are looking somebody with outstanding influence and persuasion skills, able to communicate effectively in English, French, and German, full mastery of the technological skills. They were describing, the ideal profile. But since the standard was so high and nobody has all those skills, whenever you prepare an ad like this, you're likely to turn off the women, and that's then ended up not getting you a number of potential great talents for the position. So a quick tip for the people that are recruiting, don't overdo it in stating your expectation in the job description, because this may backfire.
Yes, and this is exactly what I meant when I say that companies have to ask themselves, what can we do to attract more women? What can we do to promote more women? And this is one of the answers. Make ads which are not about non-existent superheroes, but more about the real job.
Yeah. And by the way, still on ads, let me share another story. You know, one of the leading chemical company in the world was struggling to attract women. Now, you may say chemical maybe is not as sexy as cosmetics to attract women or whatever, but, they were not really getting, maybe 100 CVs from men, 20 CV from women. They worked with a gender expert to find out what was this problem, and they discovered that the language that they used in their job ads was very masculine. Success, achievement, results, etc. And this was turning off the women. Then, they tried to change their language to a more neutral language. 100 men, 50 women. Then they changed it into a feminine language. Support, relationship, etc. 100 women, 100 men. So the men always apply. But if you want to attract more women, use a language which is more feminine. And, if you Google, feminine language, masculine language, you can find which are the words that may be appealing to one or the other gender, and think it over as you prepare your ads. That's maybe another quick tip to help you recruit for women. There are so many questions from the audience that I have to shut up and leave the floor a bit to the audience, because let's start with Marco. How important is the recruiter versus the network in getting the top jobs?
If the recruiter, you mean a headhunter?
Yeah, I think it's meant for an headhunter. Yes.
Okay, I think that the two are not mutually exclusive, because Marco Rioli has already a top job, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay, so you could answer for yourself, but in experience, it's both, because whenever the shareholders give an assignment to the recruiter to bring them some good candidates, the recruiters will always, if they are good, verify the reputation of their candidates. And so the network or the building your reputation is paramount. So if the recruiter is good, we'll only present candidates with good reputation. And then the shareholders can choose. But I would say your reputation is important, and the recruiter is important as well.
Fantastic. Now, let's go, since we have a broad audience, let's go at the other side of the spectrum. On one side, already a C-level executive asking something. Well, let's see somebody that just finished his MBA. Alex, what's the best approach to transition into a management client-facing role if you only have engineering experience and no client-facing experience, right? How can you make the transition from a technical role into a management role?
It depends from where are you coming from. Did you say, Giuseppe, that he just finished his MBA, Alex?
Yes, he just finished his MBA.
Okay, so the MBA is a good thing. It will help you because it will give you a more generalist approach. What you could do is either enroll in MBA program run from a big multinational, for example. They have these talented MBA programs where there are accelerators.
You rotate, different roles, and then you
the
get to see
mythical
different
rotationals. And this is one thing. They're very selective, but it's a way to transition because they nurture the next generation of leaders. So they will give you management jobs. Another way is to go in consulting, where you will be applying your expertise in client-facing roles. Or you can begin in a big company as an engineer or as a technical person, but then make very clear that you want to transition to a manager role and try to put yourself into a promotion track. So these things.
Yeah, Alex, Let me share also the way I did it. After my MBA, I was working at Procter and Gamble, and I wanted to move into marketing. But at Procter and Gamble was almost impossible to do it because there were very much silos, between the operation and the marketing, and there was no way to make it. So what I did, I moved to another company, still building on my core competency, which was procurement. So I took a senior job in another company, but I chose a company that was much more flexible in terms of making transition from one function to the other. So after a couple of years in my procurement role in the new company, then I managed to move to marketing and had my 3.5 years experience in marketing, which I enjoyed very much. So that's
But then you
maybe.
change your mind. Then you change your mind again.
But then I changed then I realized that what I was good in
It
marketing
was
was
not for you.
managing agency. So really what was my expertise was really procurement rather than marketing. So then I went back into procurement again. But I had the opportunity to fulfill my dream, see how the marketing was, had fun with it, but then realized that my personal competency was more linked to negotiation and influencing in the personal side rather than into being extremely creative or be other kind of things that will be more into the marketing role. Perfect. Let's go to the question from Mariangela. Hello, and thank you very much for this talk. How could the pandemic event determine new and challenging changes in career path?
That's a very difficult question, Mariangela. Well, for sure, what I can say, what I'm seeing from my observation point, is that there is finally there is more energy in the job market. So companies have begun to hire again after a long freeze, and I think that this could be a good time to pursue a career change, because it seems to be a stronger appetite for talent right now, and not as it was at pre-pandemic level, but it's starting to get better. From what I see, again, to take advantage of this wave of disruption and of change, still you have to work a lot on your reputation. So again, in this period is more important than ever to get seen, to be known, to be known as a reliable person, and to be visible somehow. So because of course companies are risk averse and they do not want to risk too much when they hire people. So if you have a good reputation and people know you, then it's a good time.
Yeah. And by the way, social media now gives us an opportunity, to be visible, even if you're not famous. Maybe you're not senior enough to be able to talk at international conference. Maybe you cannot write a book or write an article on Harvard Business Review. But in social media, maybe you can start, make a regular post, do videos. Speak at a LinkedIn Live or do other kind of things that will give you the opportunity to be visible and to have access, to a broader
Yes.
audience with what you do. By the way, as we conclude and we reach the end of this event, let me quickly remind you again, the forthcoming LinkedIn Live, so that there will be more opportunities to discover new ideas. Then the next one is not going to be about career, it's going to be about commodity trading in an unstable environment. So it's more to say, okay, in the current context, very hectic times, how can a company can successfully do trading and how it is changing and what are the good techniques that can make us effective with Marco, the CEO of CHS Europe. And then 2 weeks later, on the 18th of February, always at 1 o'clock Central European time, then we will be talking about dealing with difficult business partners. So, I mean, if you never encounter any difficult business partner, that's okay. If you happen to have met some from time to time, then maybe you want to join Amy Carroll on the 18th of February at 1 o'clock and get some more insight. And then to conclude, 4th of February, we still have a webinar, Virtual Negotiation Toolbox, how to negotiate effectively virtually. That is me talking in this event. And I hope I can give you some more insight on how to optimize all the different virtual tools. To conclude, thank you very much again for, oh, by the way, we also have the negotiation pack, so if you want to learn some more about negotiation, get the templates, articles, videos on how to negotiate effectively, then you can download our negotiation pack. Isabella, it was a great pleasure talking with you today. Thank you very much for the audience that joined us for this LinkedIn Live and for all the questions that we got. And look forward to reconnecting with you all soon.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Giuseppe.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.